That's it, boy. What up, boys and girls? Welcome to the Top Strength Project. I'm Strip Cam. Today we're going to be doing some deadlifts. I'm currently like 5 or 6 weeks out from a USPA powerlifting competition. It's going to be right here in the gym. So today happens to be a deadlift day in preparation for that meet. Today I'm going to be joined by a good friend of myself in the gym, Laura Muscle Bombshell. She, I would say, between 6 and 8 months ago, started working with Blackstone Labs and PJ Braun. She's been putting on a ton of muscle. She looks great. So basically the premise of today, aside from just showing you guys the gym and how we train, myself, my staff, and our members, we'll cover some kind of specific strategies that tailor more towards building strength specifically versus building muscle, and also how they overlap. Hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks a lot. You roll your feet? Did you roll your feet today? Oh. You should probably roll your feet. You should probably roll your feet. I mean, it feels nice, but also it's like that's something people don't really think about, especially when it comes to the compound competitive lifts, your squat, your deadlift. The feet play such a massive role in being able to apply force and pressure into the ground. And it's kind of a day-to-day thing. You know, some days I'll come in and I'll get on this and my feet will, like today they feel pretty good, you know? So I don't do it too much, but some days they'll be really raw, really tight, really sore, maybe down by the balls of my feet or in the bridge. And just give them a little bit of attention. And it doesn't just impact the foot, it impacts everything. So roll your feet, man. Just so you know, this is the tightest band they make. This is the extra heavy. Black's the tightest one. Yellow's the lightest. Dude, you gotta use the headphones, man, so we can communicate, okay?
What?
So you gotta lose those headphones so we can communicate.
What do you want to talk about, Steve?
Fitness.
All right, fitness. All right. What are you doing particularly right now?
Kegels.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what kind of basic fit shit's going on right now with that band?
Warm-ups, a lot of you boys and girls are busting your nut on your warm-ups. 1, 2, 3 reps, that's it, as you're climbing up to your top set. This whole idea of doing 135 for 12, 225 for 10, 315 for 8, you get to your top set, you're already spent. 1, 2 reps, that's it. What you're doing, we're doing fast, do them hard. You get active and ready.
I'm like, I never deadlift, but I can always pull at least 315.
Oh, no doubt.
Should I stay with like 5 or more?
3 to 5. 3 to 5 as you climb up. And then maybe once you get over 200, just 2 to 3, 1 to 2 to 3.
Okay.
So I do a workout and I train deadlifts.
Yeah.
You do a workout and you train your butt and your hamstrings
Right.
with deadlifts. Right? Do you agree with that? So that that's something I communicate to a lot of people I work with, is kind of the difference, the approach, the mentality when you're training. So like right now, I mean, I kind of try and do both, and you as well. You want to be strong and big. You want to look the part too. But typically when you come into a gym, what's the workout look like for you when you're doing butt and hamstrings with deadlifts? I'd assume you probably may start off and do some hamstring curls, some glute work to get the muscles all fired up, to get a good feel.
Right, so I'll start with something like lying leg curl, seated leg curl, something like that, higher rep range to feel warm. Deadlifts, I don't want to go and do that at the end of it because then I'm exhausted at that point, you know what I mean? So I try and keep my heaviest stuff like third or fourth into the routine for exercise. And then kickbacks and stuff like that I do as finishers to really pump up the glute, like adductors, abductors, in between that. But if I have a deadlift, I'm not gonna press and I'm not gonna squat.
Sure.
So the rest is kind of accessory work at that point.
Yeah, you kind of save the light stuff at the end because you don't need to be fresh.
Right.
You kind of finish that. So basically, I think the concept that's most important to understand is basically training a muscle versus training a movement.
Right.
And there's a whole approach to that, not only in the exercise selection and the order, but your whole thought process when you're approaching a lift. So, you know, this is my set before the set, right? So I'm trying to be as efficient as possible. I want to move this barbell from A to B. Yes, I want to properly leverage my glutes. I want to leverage my hands. I want to have good position. But I'm trying to hit a heavy top set, and I'm going for efficiency, movement pattern, etc. Where if I was training to kind of elicit more of a growth response in the tissue, I would want to go for more of a feel.
Right,
maybe control the eccentric.
That's the biggest thing. Like I'm going for a pump.
Yeah.
I want to feel it. I want that pump. I want to feel fatigue. For you, it's like you're going for that top set, so you're not trying to catch a pump.
Yeah.
So I noticed the biggest difference between bodybuilding and powerlifting when I did it too was like I wasn't really getting crazy pumps when I was doing my powerlifting stuff because you're just trying to train for that max.
And I find a lot of people who, you know, you've been going to the gym for years and you see these people that are kind of doing the same thing year after year. They're in the gym 5-6 days a week, 2-3 hours a day, and nothing changes. And I think perhaps what they're missing is they're training to build muscle, but they're trying to move weight.
Exactly.
And the most important factor when it comes to building muscle is mechanical tension.
Yeah.
You do a set of you do a set of bench press with 225, and then they get a good set and they put another plate on and do a set of 315 and it's garbage. They're better off trying to squeeze and flex and maintain tension start to finish with as much weight as possible rather than to push more weight. It's like they're mixing two practices.
You have to put your ego aside. It's like everyone's like, oh, I want this heavy lift, the heaviest lift, how much can I lift? And then they're not changing and they're wondering why, but they're still going after this mentality of like, they want the biggest lift.
Yeah.
But they're not doing powerlifting per se, they're trying to achieve like a bodybuilding physique. So to me, it just like put your ego aside, feel the reps, take it slow, good stretch, good squeeze.
Yeah, it may not look
I mean?
as glorious because there aren't as many biscuits on the barbell, but the thing is, it's understandable because we would quantify success as more weight, a fast lift. I mean, in the competitive nature, the fastest score wins. I mean, the fastest time wins, the heaviest lift wins. But when it comes to training, to try and elicit a certain response, a more successful set is one where you take the muscle to failure specifically, placing tension on the specific tissue. Another thing too, you'll notice with sets, you know, when you're doing your sets, you'll do touch and goes. You'll come up, hit the ground, keep coming up, maintaining tension throughout the whole set. Whereas if I'm working with somebody who's prepping for a competition to hit a maximum set, it's so important that they reset every single rep to practice that skill of creating tension on the floor. A lot of people say that touch and goes are wrong and the other is right, but with a touch and go, you're maintaining tension start to finish, put more stress on the muscle. Okay, boys. That's it, boy. How's that?
Flawless.
Believable?
So I feel like it's cheating when you wear straps to deadlift.
Why?
I don't know, I just feel like it helps a little.
It does help, but it's very advantageous if you're trying to feel your ass and hamstrings more because it eliminates grip.
Right.
And of course, the only time you need to go strapless is in competition. Even myself, right? So I'm fortunate that my grip has never been an issue. It's not the weakest link to my deadlift.
Right.
So I'll usually try and hit my top set strapless, and if it's fine, my grip's fine, which it was there, I'm gonna use straps for all my back offs because I'm gonna have an easier time creating a great position, a better feel, and my hands aren't gonna get all raw. So when I train my back the day after tomorrow, my hands will feel fresh. So straps are totally fine and very advantageous when it comes to trying to feel muscles if grip strength isn't an issue. If she was doing powerlifting in 3 months or 2 months or 1 month away, we'd want to make sure her grip isn't an issue, but she's trying to get some reps, trying to get a good feel, strap up all day.
Yep,
no problem at all.
Yep. That way I can focus on what I'm doing instead of my grip. So.
Don't be so hard on yourself, you're not cheating.
Okay.
You're fine. Come on.
Take this.
I got you. Don't pick it up, Laura. Leg press through the floor, all right? Use them legs, man. Come on, use those legs. Let's go. That's it. Come on. 3 more reps. You got 5 easily. Come on. Excellent. Come on. Last one. Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
That's easier than you thought.
Stars.
That's easier than you thought. You were stressing out.
I know.
That was fun.
I'm a little nervous.
Gun to your head, I say she had 10. So intra-workout, basically what I drink while I train, I like 2 sugar sources. So Perry MD from True Nutrition, Mountain Dog, this is my favorite product on the market. It's got some HBCD for the carbohydrate source, about 25 grams per scoop. It's got my EAAs, citrulline, and some electrolytes. This is a great product. So I always do like a kind of a light scoop of that. I also do a scoop of dextrose so I can have 2 sugar sources. And if you're lifting weights, you're not taking creatine, you're fucking up. Everybody's taking creatine. As far as when, intra or post, I'd say makes the most sense. But you know, pre-workout's fine too. Nothing extravagant. 5 grams a day. If you're big like me and him, maybe 10.
What about me?
5 is good for you.
I think creatine is like the most underrated supplement, and it's so cheap.
It's very, very cheap. It's very well researched. They've recently discovered some cognitive benefits to it, but it's great to get your cells filled with creatine. And the reason why I say intra or post is it's already there from the previous day. So basically, while you're utilizing the creatine throughout your workouts, throughout your sets, it's gonna resaturate the cells during your training. So I would argue intra/post workout, but pre's fine too. You just gotta get the stuff in. There it is. Come on. Come on, Laura. Yep. 2 more now, let's go. Come on, Laura. That's it. Last one. Come on. Legs. The best one right there, very nice. With structure and programming, you know, when it comes to top sets, compound lifts, whatever, you have straight sets like, you know, 3x6 at X or 6x3 at Y, whatever, or what I'm doing today is a top set. So my top set was high. I think it was 776 or 786 today. That's my top set, and then I'll come into back off. So I'll bring it down. I think I have 646 on the bar for my back offs. Press the volume up. So my top set was a double. I'm gonna go 3 or 4 sets of 5 here, sub-maximal weight, kind of keep the volume up and get some sub-maximal practice reps to kind of work on technique as I lead into the peak for this meet. Is one better than the other? Not really. Straight sets are good. Top sets with back offs is good.
Feels heavy, you know, but it should after that top set. It's just, this is the show. This is where the work's done. This is where you get better, these back offs. Woo, boy. Couple questions come up here. What other workouts that will improve my deadlift? That's a tough question to answer because I don't know what you're doing now. But as far as my favorite deadlift variation, I think pause deadlifts are probably the most advantageous. You can pause, I would say, wherever you tend to feel weakest in the deadlift. If you tend to fail or lose it right off the floor, I love a nice honest pause. 1 inch off the floor. As soon as that weight breaks the floor, you pause there, pull it through. It's also very common to see deadlifts fail right around the knee, right below the knee. That's kind of like, I would say, a transition period in the movement where it goes from predominantly legs to more of an upper back to finish. So you see a lot of guys and girls lose it there. So a common spot for a pause there would be to pull, pause just below the knee and pull through. That's gonna be my favorite variation. As far as a variation that I think is phenomenal to build the back, and you kind of get a bigger bang for your buck, you kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, is a snatch grip deadlift. So a common deadlift variation would be pulling off like a deficit deadlift, standing on a 1, 2, 3, or 4 inch mat. Deficit deadlifts are popular, but I love a snatch grip deadlift, grabbing a wider grip, which is gonna obligate a lower pull position because of the wider grip, and you also just get such stimulus to your lats and upper back with that wider grip. So I'm a huge fan of getting some good volume, sets of 6 to 8, with decent resistance on a snatch grip deadlift. Rack pulls, not really a big fan. Block pulls, not bad to overload, but I tend to favor more of the pause deadlifts and deficit pulls or snatch grip deadlifts. Do I recommend cryotherapy or Epsom salt baths? So there's a lot of criticisms towards icing and its effectiveness because, you know, icing is to reduce inflammation, and inflammation is obviously a natural bodily process. It's part of the natural recovery process. So it's understood that, or a lot of studies suggest that icing inhibits the body's natural recovery process. And I gotta be honest, whatever the research suggests is fine, but I can tell you for me, from my own personal experience, when I was playing college football, my senior year where I was my biggest, I was playing the most and doing the most damage to my body, they offered ice baths after practice, especially after double sessions. And it, without a doubt, just sitting in an ice bath for 10, 15 minutes after practice dramatically improved my recovery. I don't give a shit what the research says. So I'm a big fan of icing. But ice baths are kind of a pain in the ass, and it's also kind of painful. It takes a long time, and you gotta suffer for 2 or 3 minutes in there before you get numb, and then you can sit and kind of enjoy the rest of it. Cryo, in my opinion, is kind of like a 3-minute ice bath. So if you have access to a cryo chamber, you don't mind spending 50, 60, 70 bucks a session, I think cryo is great, unless you're doing an ice bath. I'm also a huge fan of Epsom salt baths. I use them all the time. Well, maybe not as often as I should, but before competition, I'm definitely doing some Epsom salt baths. If I start to feel sick, if I start to feel like I'm getting stuffy or cold or achy, Epsom salt bath. I turn my tub as hot as it goes, the hottest water possible, put about 2 cups of Epsom salt in there. I think it's tremendously advantageous for recovery and it's overall just feeling better. Big fan of Epsom salt baths.
We'll do one more. Of course, my man Dane is the 275 USPA National deadlifter gonna fall on 313. I don't know, man. That's the goal. I'm confident that if I can stay healthy and get a good 5 or 6 weeks of training in, it's a possibility. That's the goal. It'd be a great last hurrah before I get surgery on my arm at the end of March.
So I'm actually gonna hit a little bit of back instead of legs just because I feel like my legs are already pretty tight. I train legs 3 times a week right now. So because I'm feeling a little bit sore still from my last workout, I'm just gonna hit some back instead. All right, so we're gonna do some dumbbell rows. I'm gonna do 3 sets of this, keeping my rep range between 8 and 10. So with these, they actually have a wider grip, and that does contract in the forearms a lot more, and I think it definitely makes the exercise a lot more difficult than using a standard dumbbell.
Come on! Come on, D! So you're talking to Laura earlier, you know, talking about like organizing training, organizing your program. Again, no right or wrong answers here, but generally, 2 approaches. You have a split routine where you basically split your body parts up. You know, so for example, Laura today did deadlifts. So typically you'll have like a deadlift workout and back, or a deadlift workout, hams and glutes, right? So you basically target the same muscles all on the same day, and then maybe tomorrow she'll do like shoulders, then the next day she'll go back to quads, something like that. Then you also have a higher frequency program, which, you know, it suggests higher frequency is a better way to create a strength adaptation. So what I mean by higher frequency is instead of doing all my deadlift work in one day, I'll deadlift twice a week. And today I did deadlifts. Now I'm going to go to a bench, a bench exercise, so that my bench frequency, I'll bench press 4 times a week and squat twice a week. So a higher frequency program. Workouts tend to be more total body, offering me more practice in the skills of the movements I'm trying to improve. Again, one's not necessarily better than the other. You know, you can get strong in a split routine, you can get big on a split routine, you can get strong on a high frequency, you can get big on a high frequency. I'm not gonna say one's necessarily better than the other, but myself, as more of a strength athlete, I train with a high frequency program probably 7 to 8 months out of the year, and I train a split routine like 4 months out of the year. Where she will probably do more of a split routine year round. How's your back?
Good. Yeah.
Hey, thank you. So earlier we talked about you know, deadlift variations to improve a deadlift. I like pause deadlifts, I like snatch grip deadlifts. As far as bench, Spoto press gotta be one of my favorite variations. Eric Spoto's one of the best bench pressers in history. And again, typically to address common sticking points right off the chest is where a lot of guys and girls get stuck. So the Spoto press, you come down, you pause right in that position, about 1 inch or 2 off the chest. You're gonna hold it there and then press up. So that's gonna address and essentially overload a common sticking point. Another reason why I like the Spoto press is a lot of times we lose track of where our elbows are at. So when we come down to the chest, a lot of guys will tuck a little too much or have their elbows flare out. The thing with the bench press is it's a very delicate pattern. There's a very specific bar path where your strength is at, and your elbow's gotta be right behind that bar. A lot of loss of power here, a lot of loss of power here. So with the Spoto press, when I pause in that vulnerable position, if my elbows aren't directly underneath that bar, I'm probably not going to be able to lift it. So that's another piece of the bench that's, I feel, is directly addressed with the Spoto, is keeping the elbows right beneath the barbell, which I think is a great way to improve your bench press. You can also see we're using the calibrated competition plates here. I usually train with the big thick biscuits year round, and about 2 or 3 months out, I start using these competition plates. I didn't use them on the deadlift because, you know, for the video, it looks a lot cooler when the whole bar is filled up, so I was cheating. Yeah? Hey. In closing, thank you all very much for watching. Thanks to Laura for coming and training with me today.
Thank you, as always.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you guys were able to take something away from it. Upcoming events, we have that meet we spoke about on the 13th, and we have a massive Arnold qualifying, national qualifying strongman event at the end of June that Vanessa is prepping for. It's going to be her second or third strongman.
Third strongman.
So stay tuned for the next video where we're going to cover her process and preparing for that event.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. Stay tuned.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Swipe up links on their page. I will post everything. Thank you.
Be good, guys. Thanks a lot.